everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business and Beyond's Feature Friday with yours truly, Tanya Bartolini. Today's guest is a longtime friend and colleague of mine, Matthew Fornaro, and I'm so excited to have him here because he is a business attorney and he provides practical, strategic legal guidance for businesses across South Florida. With over 20 years of experience, he helps entrepreneurs, startups, and established companies manage contracts, disputes, and risk clearly and efficiently. So, welcome, Matthew. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Tanya. It's just like old times.
I know, right? So tell me, Matthew, what industry are you in and why are you in it?
Sure. So, as you pointed out in your very nice bio, I am a business law attorney who focuses on helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups with their legal needs, whether it's litigation or transactional. And that's what I do.
Okay. So, for those who don't know what litigation or transactional means, can you explain a little bit?
Sure. So the transactional part is like dealing with contracts, starting a business. You have to have all your governing documents, your written business plan, your contracts for your employees, your independent contractors, your commercial lease, your terms of service, all stuff like that. Anything that's written, whether it's an old-fashioned contract or online or whatever, that's the transactional part. When you buy stuff, you sell stuff, you hire people, you fire people, that's all transactional stuff. The litigation stuff is when you're involved in a lawsuit with either another person, another company, or whatever, or arbitration or some other form of dispute resolution that is litigation. And I do both of them.
That is wonderful because most attorneys either do litigation or they do transactional. They don't do both. So I love that you've married them and used both of those to help your clients from beginning to end, right?
Yes, it's a holistic approach because businesses deal with not only ongoing transactional stuff, but they deal with litigation stuff too.
Uh, yes. So holistic. I love that. And you know me, I love anything holistic that takes care
Mhm.
of the whole situation, the whole person, the whole business, rather than just putting band-aids on things. So why did you get into business law as opposed to any other law? Why did you even get into law to begin with?
All right. Well, you may not know the answer to this story. For those of you who don't know, Tandy and I used to work together, but we're not going to talk about too much about that. We'll just skip over some of it. But the reason why I got into law stuff is because, believe it or not, this is a true story, by the way. Growing up, like I loved watching like the People's Court on TV, and like I loved like Judge Wapner and watching just the nonsense of the craziness and the conflict resolution and things happen. So I always thought that that was interesting and cool. So that kind of got me into possibly wanting to be an attorney when I grew up. But I didn't want to, I knew like I wanted to deal with like, civil disputes, like contract disputes and things like that. I don't want to deal with like family law or criminal law or probate law or any of that other stuff. So that's kind of planted the seed for me to want to get into the law. Went to undergrad as a political science major, so I'm totally unqualified to do anything except go to law school. So then I went to law school and I came out and I worked at a boutique firm doing like commercial litigation and learned a lot about like business disputes and things like that. And then Tanya knows we both worked at the same big firm afterwards, and that was an experience, and we'll leave it at that. So then I went and worked at an even bigger firm and did more commercial litigation and stuff like that and represented like big companies, um, banks and insurance companies. And that was cool or whatever. I had the opportunity to go and I got a job offer from an even bigger firm. And I kind of had like a metaphysical, moment where I was like, well, what am I doing? Am I just going to keep like, doing whatever and not having like my own book of business and not having my own clients and not doing whatever and just like, being a cog in the wheel of helping like monolithic, no name faceless entities and whatever, like, do whatever. So then I had serious conversations with like my wife, my parents, my former boss at my first law firm. And I decided, you know what, I want to go out and start my own law firm, but I want to focus on helping like small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups because I thought that they were underserved by big law firms at a minimum. And I thought that they were also underserved, particularly out here in the suburbs where I am, because like general practitioners really aren't attuned to businesses or business practice. So that's kind of how I developed my location, my niche, and that's what I've been doing for the last 11 years.
And so you found, and I have to say, I mirror exactly what you found, is a lot of these small businesses don't have real access to legal services because these big firms are going after it, the bigger fish, so to speak, right? And so you found this need that you knew you could fill and you filled it. So that is fantastic. And you serve, your niche is in the South Florida area, but you can service all of Florida, correct?
Correct. Yeah, my focus is, South Florida, but I have clients all over Florida. But like my main focus is like the Tri-County area where you used to live. So,
But yes. And so my old stomping grounds, and
yeah, your old
that's for
stomping
another
grounds.
day
We
as
miss
well.
you down here.
So tell me a little bit about what you do for businesses. I know you said you help them from startup through contracts to litigation, risk management, right? But like, what are some of the things if I were to open a company or be thinking about opening up a company, why would I call you? What are some things that you can help me with?
Sure. So ideally, and again, things aren't always ideal, but before you start a business, you would want to consult with like a business law attorney, an accountant, a commercial banker, probably a commercial insurance agent to figure out one, what it is you want to actually do before you even do anything, like conceptually. And then you want to have like a written business plan before you do anything. You want to meet with those professionals to figure out which business organization you want to choose that fits your needs, both economically, tax wise, legal wise. Then, once you choose your business organization, you draft your governing documents and register your business. Then once you register your business and have your governing documents, then you need all your contracts in place. So if you rent a space, you need a commercial lease. If you have a website, you need terms of service. You have an app, you need terms of service. If you have employees, you need an employee handbook and employment contracts. You have independent contractors, you need independent contractor contracts. If you buy things, if you sell things, if you do whatever, you need to have sales contracts, you need to have invoices that have like actual terms on them and things like that. And then ongoing, you need to make sure that you comply with all federal, local, state laws. Make sure you run your business in a formal manner and keep your business formalities and don't like commingle your personal funds with your business. You don't, take the business card out and go buy the kids, McDonald's for dinner. Like you don't do things like that. And that's the kind of stuff that I help businesses do is deal with all that kind of stuff. And then like the litigation part is when someone doesn't comply with your contract and owes you money or owes you something or needs to do something, then we can file a lawsuit, or if someone sues you then we can respond to the lawsuit. And that's kind of the approach that I take with the businesses that I help. And like I said, I work with the other professionals who businesses should be working with, which is their accountants, their bankers, their commercial insurance agents, and then depending on what industry they're in, like their web person, their all the different professionals that I work with to make sure we're all on one team and handle our aspects of what's going on so that you as the business owner, the entrepreneur, whatever, can focus on making business decisions and then we'll focus on helping you make the other decisions.
Oh, I love that. So you just, I mean, this is music to my ears because it's not just, oh, here's a contract, let me draft it for you. It's, hey, let's talk to your accountant. Let's talk to all of the other people that are part of your business to make sure that everything fits together and we're not, putting one thing in one place and then having it go against something else that's in another place, right? So you're making it cohesive with all of the professionals in that business. Um, so now that we know about your business, I want to talk about the business of business, right? You have been on your own for 11 years, and that's really good, especially for a law firm. I want to talk about some obstacles that you have had to overcome in those 11 years. I mean, every entrepreneur, especially as business, lawyer, you would know
Hmm.
every entrepreneur faces some kind of challenge. And so, would you share with us maybe one or two obstacles that you personally have had to face in growing your business, your personal journey, and how you overcame those?
Sure. So when I went out on my own, although I previously represented like big businesses and stuff, I had no business education whatsoever in my life. And I didn't know anything about actually running a business. So all the stuff that I just, spouted off to you about all that stuff, I didn't do that. I didn't know to do that. This is all stuff, I figured out, learned, done whatever over the last 11 years. Two things I did actually help me. It was one, I got into this program through the Kauffman Foundation called Fast Track, which helps small businesses and entrepreneurs, which I went through, which was awesome and gave me a lot of education that I needed regarding how to do things with business. And the other thing I did was the Jim Moran Institute, which is run by Florida State University, which also helped me figure out, what the hell I was doing as far as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever. So two things I went to, both free, both awesome. You should check them out if you're a business owner or entrepreneur because they're all over. Jim Moran's all over the state of Florida. Kaufman is all over the US and they're free and open to anyone. So that filled in a lot of the gaps. And then obviously there's a lot of trial and error as much as I tried to prepare and do the best possible. And a lot of, on the job training and a lot of process and error stuff. And, that's kind of what I did. And I learned some expensive lessons and I'm able to help the people who I represent now avoid those expensive lessons. And, here I am talking to you.
But well, I think it's awesome that you shared those two institutions, which is the Kauffman Foundation. They have great, great resources and a great um I guess, curriculum
Yeah.
for business owners or people who are going into business because it does give you a lot of the foundational things. Actually, it's funny, I'm a speaker for them in Ocala. So
All
every time
right.
they
So
have
there
a
you go.
class, I go and I present
Yeah.
to them. And then the Jim Moran Foundation, they have every year they hold a summit that has a bunch of different speakers and different resources as well for business owners. So it's not a lack of information or a lack of access, but I have found that the issue becomes implementation, right? Because information is accessible everywhere. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of knowing how to implement it. So you actually took those courses and you implemented them in your own business so that you can keep it going and keep it running for 11 years. That's not a small feat. Um, so what are some specific things that maybe you had to overcome, maybe marketing or finding, like you said, you came out, you didn't really have any clients, even though you didn't know anything about business. So you learned all that, right? How did you run your business and continue to grow while learning that? I mean, that must have been hard.
Yes. it was as you know, it's a lot harder when you have your safety net and you get money put in your bank account every 2 weeks by your employer versus having to go do things yourself. So, a lot of lean time at the beginning, a lot of doing things that I wouldn't do today as far as dealing with certain clients or practice areas that I really wouldn't want to do or whatever. And then over time, it's just developing my focus and my niche. But it's no matter how much preparation you do, no matter how much you learn, no matter how prepared you are. I mean, there's still issues that you're going to face and things you're going to deal with. I can tell you, you mentioned one that I faced, which was ridiculous how much money I spent, which was like stupid marketing and stuff that was no bueno. And, just live and learn. And, it's a whole different world now. And, starting a business is, I don't want to say easy, but easier now than it was years ago because of all the technology, all of the help that you can get from AI, from apps, from outsourcing, from, offshore, nearshore, all the stuff that you can do now that wasn't available previously makes it a lot easier. It's still not easy, but easier to start a business and run a business.
See, and you brought up a really good point with spending all this money on marketing because, yes, I do know as well, right? It's part of being an entrepreneur, right? We all chalk it up to, well, it's just business. And I find that learning from other people's mistakes is so much cheaper than
Yeah.
learning from your own,
Yeah.
because God only knows how much money I've spent on marketing with my first law firm and
Yeah.
getting everything done. And a lot of it was no bueno because
Yeah.
everybody's an expert and we can
Yeah.
get you the clients, we can get you the right marketing. Okay. And then crickets, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want the audience to understand is not all marketing is the same. Not all marketing is equal. And so you have to know who your target audience is so that you're not spending all this money on marketing that doesn't work, right?
Mm.
Um, I know one of my experiences was I had a marketing company that was like, oh, look, we're getting you, hundreds of thousands of impressions. And I'm like,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
right? Like, so
Yeah.
many people are seeing me and show me the
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah,
Where are the
exactly. What are
clients?
they doing with those impressions? They're not following up.
That right, like, okay, so if I'm running a law firm for businesses and you're advertising and getting me in front of hundreds of thousands of students, how is
No,
that going to benefit me, right?
no,
They're not going to hire me.
no.
So I love that you thank you for bringing that up because I want everybody to understand you have to find your right marketing. And it is trial and error, and it's okay. You just got to continue to keep going until you find it so that you can stay in business 11 plus years like Matthew, right? And continue to succeed. Um, so what other things have you found? And maybe they're not necessarily your trials and tribulations. Maybe they're things that you've seen your clients go through on numerous occasions, like a recurring theme. What are some things do you see that are obstacles that business owners face?
Well, I can tell you from my clients, not me, because I'm, solo practitioner slash, have my stuff going on. So, going into business with people can be a disaster. And that is an ongoing theme for many of my clients. And, obviously, look, nobody goes into business to want to fail. And nobody goes into business to have interpersonal conflicts with the people who they're in business with, but it happens. And the thing that I see over and over again is that people, want to go into business, they do whatever. And like we were talking about when we first started talking today, the things that they're supposed to have, they skip over those steps and just want to get in business. And then either they succeed or they fail. Either one, they run into problems because they don't have their governing documents in place. So if they have an LLC or a corporation, what do we do when we're deadlocked? What do we do when I hate you and I want you out, or I want to get out, or I want to sell, or I want to buy you out, or we want to bring someone else in? So, that's an ongoing issue I see all the time, whether it's, from people who are still in business who want to do whatever, or people who want to get out of business, or they want to, file a lawsuit, they want to dissolve something, they want to kick someone out. They don't plan ahead, particularly when they're in business with someone else. And it comes back to bite them. And it's just an ongoing thing where if you're going to get in business with someone, obviously, yeah, you're aligned, you want to do well, whatever, but things happen. Your best friend turns into, not your best friend. Your family member, you get conflict with them, whatever, it happens. And you want to make sure that you have a roadmap to get out to resolve the situation or whatever. And a lot of these businesses just don't do it, and then it's a disaster. Or even not even if they want to get it, if they want to succeed, if they are successful and they want to sell or they want to bring on investors or they want to borrow money, they don't have anything to show for it. It's like, I have a business. Okay, well, where's the paperwork? I don't have it. Well, how are you going to borrow money? You don't have whatever. What are you selling? You don't have any assets or anything. So, that's probably one of the biggest ongoing things is that as far as the due diligence dealing with, your business affiliates, your partners, whatever you want to call them, and then having the stuff in place to either transition in or transition out of business.
But we're best friends. What are you talking
No,
about?
exactly.
Right?
Nothing's ever gonna happen between us. And
That's
then all of a sudden, you either don't have money or you have too much money, and then you're not best friends anymore.
it. And that's the thing. I tell people all the time, if you value your relationships, you will put it in writing.
You know,
Right?
or
How about
if you really value them, you won't go into business together. So,
that's well, it's being clear as to your plan, right? What if you failure to plan is planning to fail, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Like all these sayings are there for a reason. They came about because things like this happen all the time, and people get into partnerships because they're best friends or their family, and who else is going to look out for you better than your family or your best friend, and they don't realize that life changes, things happen, right? What happens if you get into business with your best friend and all of a sudden their spouse gets a great job in another state and they have to move? What happens to your
mhm,
business then?
mhm,
Right? If you have a business plan, if you have an agreement in place, and you've already talked to a good attorney who has talked to you about those things and you've planned for them, it makes it so much easier. And you can dissolve, you can buy out, you could do whatever it is that you both had agreed to from the beginning without animosity, without misunderstanding, right? It's all clear. So thank you for bringing that point up because I see that all the time as well.
no,
It's a theme, right?
yeah,
Nobody intends to have conflict. Nobody intends to break the relationship, right? It just depends on what happens in life. It's constantly changing. So thank you for bringing that up. Now, going to your business, back to your business, what is working in your business? I mean, 11 years, something's got to be, working on autopilot or working very
no,
well that you can share with us.
sure. The proliferation of technology and the ethical and responsible implementation of AI.
I love it. Because AI is a huge part of what's going on now.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've heard there were some attorneys who got disbarred for using
Mhm.
AI
Yeah,
improperly, right? But there is definitely value and good use to AI as long as you do it properly,
correct.
right? And as
It's
you said, ethically.
Correct. And the problem is, like you pointed out, a lot of stupid and lazy attorneys gave AI a bad name, particularly in the legal industry, because they just hit print or they hit send or hit file and oh, I don't know what was wrong, and now all of a sudden, whatever. Now AI is like, oh, you're using AI. No, AI is great as long as you're in control of it. You proofread, you check it, you check the citations, you check everything. It's great. But
That
if you don't do it, it's, like giving a monkey a gun, I mean, it's entertaining until something weird happens. It's the same thing. So
sorry. I'm just picturing a monkey with a gun flaring it all
that's
over
what
the place.
that's what it's like. I mean, you got to take responsibility and ownership over it.
It's true, right? Like we have to check our paralegals work, we have to
Yeah,
check our associates work, we have to check everything that goes in and out of the law firm. Why not AI?
yeah,
Like it made no sense to me.
yeah.
Um, but
And
that's
then
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then I was going to say not just, the legal part of the AI, but the other things in AI that I use in my actual business have been like, I don't want to say revolutionary, but they've been like very useful and have changed the way I do a lot of things and have increased my time or, have increased my productivity, have decreased my cost, and they're great.
So what are some things that are working for you in AI?
Sure.
One,
So the legal stuff, obviously, the legal tools that I don't want to, take up your viewers' time with our legal machinations and stuff, but the legal stuff, yeah, doing the research and the stuff like that, yeah. From the business practice standpoint, which your viewers will be more interested in, like the social media stuff, the SEO stuff, the stuff that the advertising stuff that we were talking about earlier that you used to have to pay someone to not do a good job for. The AI does flawlessly for a 20th of the cost. And like all the the SEO experts and all those people. I mean, people are like, oh, AI is going to take my job. Yeah, in that area, yeah, AI is probably going to take your job because it's doing it a lot better and doing it a lot cheaper. And that stuff's been phenomenal for my business over the last year of me implementing that stuff.
so wonderful. So all the business stuff that doesn't have to do with the actual strategies and thinking and giving that value to your clients, you're using AI to get that off your plate.
Correct. All the the just machinations of going through the motions of like putting stuff on social media, putting some it's all automated now.
That I love that. And
Yeah.
so that's been working. That's bringing you a return on investment.
Hmm.
And like you said, it has raised your productivity and efficiency and lowered your expenses. So that I want everybody to understand you don't have to do it all on your own anymore, right? If you cannot afford to have an assistant, you can get AI to help you with these things at a fraction of the cost. Now, did you have any issues or hiccups when you first started utilizing AI? Did you have to like train it a certain way? Did you have to do anything for it to start? And I'm talking about the business part of
Yeah. The legal stuff, obviously, I still have my fence around the legal stuff at all
it.
times because, don't
Yes.
trust it, trust but verify. That's a whole different thing. The business stuff, not really, because these AI tools are very specific and are very smart and learn. And like the SEO stuff that I do, genius. The social media stuff that I do, genius. It figures it out itself. And, it gives you, like for the social media stuff, my social media thing that I use, it gives me my stuff a week in advance. And like I look at it and like approve it or deny it and make it redo it or whatever, but it's all whatever. And it learns as it goes on by seeing like, how many engagements did I get on Instagram versus like, whatever. And then it'll fix it for next week and make like people like pictures more. So it's got more pictures, or the people like, when it's bold font against whatever. And then it'll figure it out for the next week. And then like with the SEO, all it does is constantly works on my Google business profile 24 hours a day just to raise my Google business profile. So it's all been pretty good. I mean, it's all really well thought out stuff that gets smarter as time goes on. So with that stuff, I haven't had any hallucinations or hiccups or whatever. Like sometimes it'll use a dumb picture and I'll catch it in time and it'll fix it, but that's pretty much it. The rest of it's all pretty cut and dry, really good stuff.
So, do you have any recommendations for people on how to find? Because there's, you say AI, there's like hundreds of different,
Yeah,
AIs
yeah,
that you can buy, you can create, you can hire developers to create your own AI. They
mhm,
can even make Matthew Fornaro, right?
yeah, yeah. Your
Um,
AI clone,
that's
Um,
I'm kind of
no,
scared of that. I don't want any more of me around in the
yeah,
world.
exactly. That's what I would just say is, look, the one of the problems with technology and AI is that it's just a flood of everything. So the good, the bad, the ugly. You just get hit with it all day long. Like, I mean, I'm a big LinkedIn troll. So my LinkedIn, I just get hit with stuff 24/7. Through social media, you just get hit with stuff. Through your inbox, you just get hit with more and more AI stuff because it figures out, oh, you're an attorney. Okay, well, here's a bunch of attorney AI stuff. Or you own a business. Here's a bunch of AI stuff. So what I would say is, like what I did was I essentially did a huge amount of research and figured out like what is it, for like my SEO stuff and for my social media stuff. Basically, like I figured out what these companies actually do that you used to pay like, thousands of dollars a month for. And then I'd be like, okay, can I find an AI agent website, bot, app, whatever the hell you want to call it, that can do that? Yes, I can. Okay, let me find the best one and then just go and look what the best rated one is as far as like, industry wide or whatever, and then try it out. If it doesn't work, try the next one. If that doesn't work, try the next one. And I mean, the thing is that, most of these things you can pay for on a monthly basis. There's no like long-term service contract or anything. And then also they're super cheap, relatively speaking. I mean, like my I got the founders rate on my SEO, or not my social media AI. So I pay $50 a month. And 11 years ago, I can tell you that to hire a person to do what the AI does for $50 a month was at least $3,000 a month for them to do it. And it's ridiculous. And like, I don't even like, how is that business going to be in business in the future? But it's all out there. You just got to figure out what your issue is, then find the best AI for it, and then try it out. And if it doesn't work, find the next best one and whatever. And, I mean, you can't just be like, I saw this in my social media feed or I saw this, whatever, because like I said, there's so much noise and there's so much whatever out there that you have to figure it out yourself. But once you figure it out, I mean, the stuff is pretty good at this point in time to pretty much do anything.
And there you have it. You have to know what you want, right? You
Yeah,
have to know what you're looking for, and then you can find the thing that fits. Planning, again, everything is about planning and doing the research and knowing where you're going, especially in business. So, Matthew, how can people get a hold of you? How can they work with you? What's your
sure.
contact information?
So, as you heard, I'm all over social media, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is just go to my website, which is fornarolegal.com. It's got all my contact information, all my social media, all my various things on there. And then, it should answer some of your questions based on the content that's on there. If not, call me or email me.
That is fantastic. If you missed that, don't worry. All of Matthew's information will be at the bottom and at the end, as usual. Before I let you go, and thank you so much for all of this because there's a lot of really good information in here. What is the one piece of advice that you would tell business owners to help them be successful?
Sure, it's a corny old mantra, but believe in yourself. So, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else does. And you'll find the solution. Do your due diligence, do your planning, listen to everything that Tanya and I just told you, but just make sure you believe in yourself and, take care of everything. And you'll either succeed or fail on your own merits, not on technicalities. And that's it.
Oh, I love it. Believe in yourself because nobody else is going to believe in you like you can believe in yourself. And so, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for the listeners or to the listeners for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Bye.